Hello, how you doing? So today we're going to talk about nuclear energy in Kenya. I just saw it on social media just for a brief period. There was a conference that was being held, I think, in Kisumu, and they're talking about nuclear electricity in Kenya. And it's a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a long time. And so I thought today would be a perfect excuse to talk about it. So what I'm saying is that, okay, nuclear energy in Kenya, a case of pipe dreams and bloated wallets. I'm saying that because the government will always find an excuse to expand, and it will always have a pipe dream to sell you so that it can expand. And just the points that I have today is just basically focus on that this one is a pipe dream, in my opinion. Whatever they're doing right now, it's a pipe dream, and that we haven't done enough with what we have, and that the guarantee of success, it's a bit, I'm skeptical about the success of this project. So anyway, nuclear energy in Kenya, a case of pipe dreams and bloated wallets. So where did it begin? It began in September 2010, right? There was that former energy and petroleum PS. His name was Patrick Nyoike, and what he did, he announced that Kenya aims to build a 1,000 megawatt new nuclear power plant. That's between 2017 and 2022. So in 2010, this is when it all began, right? And I was thinking, who did they consult before they began this project? Were we participants in that discussion before they brought it forward? Because nuclear energy is not a small deal, it's a big deal. And I'll be giving the funds as we go. So Kenya embarked on this program. It did after Nyoike announced it. And so between 2017 and 2022, we are supposed to have a nuclear power plant. And by 2030, it's supposed to be generating 4 megawatts of nuclear energy. That will be 19% of the power in Kenya. That will be the second largest power generation mechanism in Kenya, after geothermal, which is supposed to overtake hydroelectric power after some time, right? So the government has a lot of plans when it comes to the energy sector, and I'll be trying to go over them a bit by bit. So what is the government trying to tell us, right? What I call the pipe dream, right? It says that one power plant will employ 400 to 700 people per day. Keep that figure in mind, 400 to 700 people per day. And that's Edwin Chesire from the nuclear, there's a board, the Kenya Nuclear Energy, yes, the Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board. So it's from there, and that's what he's saying. So 400 to 700 jobs, right, for a nuclear power plant. And then it says it will be the second largest source of energy in Kenya, yes, by 2030. That's the dream. And by 2030, yeah, generating 19% of Kenya's power needs by that time. So it's actually big. There are a lot of dreams attached to it. And he mentions jobs, I think, so that people can visualize it, because we haven't had sort of like an experience with nuclear energy, so we can't really put our finger on it. But when he says there'll be 400 jobs, then people can now, yes, there'll be a job, you can relate with it. So I think that's why he's saying that. So anyway, let's go to the other point, right? Yes, so that's the internet. So anyway, just going to one of the other reasons why we have this nuclear power, we'd want to have a nuclear power plant, is the prestige of having it. That would be so sophisticated, so advanced as a society, that we'll have a nuclear power plant. Only 450 of them exist in 31 countries, and I think we have around something like 189 countries worldwide, right? So we'll be somewhere at the top 31, you might say. So anyway, again, who did they consult? And I put this like the curriculum development, the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Who did they consult before they put up this curriculum? Because from what I'm getting is that they did not consult the students. Yet the students are the one who will go through these curriculums. They consulted everybody, like the energy sector, everybody. How many artisans do you need? How many doctors do you need? How many, all of those things. But did they consult the students? The people who are to go through that program, who have gone through that program. So, okay, in my opinion, this is kind of like the same thing. I'm not really sure if KICD consulted the students. I don't know. I'm just guessing that they didn't. But in this case, did they consult us, the common citizens, before they came up with this program? Because how much will they be spending, right? So this is kind of like the best estimate. If we use South Korean technology to develop nuclear energy, we'll spend 3.5 billion US dollars. 3.5 billion US dollars. And that's why I'm thinking the consultation should have been heavy on this one, because the cash is not a small amount, right? So that's the best estimate. But then we might spend like 500 to 600. There's another estimate of 500 to 600, right? Million dollars. That's 500 to 600 billion US dollars. And then I saw another report that says that that's in the past. That's like an estimate using 2007, 2002 and 2008 estimates. But the estimates today might be 9 billion US dollars. So as we can see right now, we can see that the figures, they're not really steady, right? And they're not really steady in the sense that they'll be decreasing, they'll be increasing. And we have figures as much as 9 billion, right? Perhaps the government has the figures, they're steady figures, I don't know. But I'm just saying, they might increase. So be prepared for that. So who will pay for this thing? You see, the nuclear power plant, it's not like a private kind of, endeavor. It's a government project. And who pays for that? The citizens. And the problem with spending a person's money, let's say the citizens' money, the taxpayers' money, is that you feel that you'll never run out of it, right? And yeah, you might just continue, because perhaps the 3.5 billion South Korean technology won't work out, right? So we'll go to the 500 to 400 estimate, to 600 million estimate, and then we'll go to the 900 million estimate. The solution always introduce new taxes. So anyway, the taxpayer will pay for that. I'm just trying to make that point. And I'm guessing, who will benefit if this thing does not work? If we build a power plant and it remains dormant, who will this benefit, right? One, it's the South Koreans who built it, or the other guys who might build it. I think the French, they are very much into building nuclear power plants. Russia does that, but mostly in Iran and other Eastern countries. So those guys will benefit, of course, because we'll pay them. And if you don't pay them, what is happening right now with China and the SGR, right? And then the people employed in the Kenya, it's the Kenya Nuclear Electricity Board, right? Of course, because they'll have jobs. And the guys they hire, like consultants, the guys they procure goods from, of course, they'll benefit. And then, yes, there are other institutions that are to come. It won't be just the KNEB, other institutions are to come. And then, of course, there are people who will be paid to pave way for the plant, because that plant has to be on a specific area. Just to continue, what is the likelihood of this thing working, right? Because Kenya, we've done so many things, and we are so good at doing certain kinds of stuff. For example, we have the matatu industry, and everything is working out well in that sector. Transport is the best in Kenya, isn't it? Right? Let's go to elections. We have the best elections in the world. We have adopted the best technologies in the world. And so we don't fight over elections anymore, right? Because we're the best at doing these things. We're the best at adopting new technologies. And our elections are perfect, right? And they are the least expensive. They are not. Okay, so let's go to another one. The energy sector. We just had 21 billion worth of fuel disappearing just the other day. Just the other day. So you can see how well we do good in the energy sector, how well we are currently doing in the energy sector. Like, we didn't have any scandal, a KPLC scandal where they were overcharging us for electricity artificially. We didn't have that, did we? But we did. Are we ready for a power plant? The SGR, they might take our port at Mombasa. And remember, the SGR was touted. This thing will bring money. This thing, it's the biggest infrastructure project since independence. And it's going to change Kenya forever. And it had to be done before the 2013 elections so that Uhuru can win. And now what do we see? They might take our port. Because we are very, very good at doing these kind of things. We are very good at doing feasibility studies and ensuring that whatever we put our money to will work. Because we don't want the Kenyan taxpayer to lose. That's Kenya. So anyway, I just wanted to give you another example, right? Yes, I want to give another example. Like the cost of trouble. Like putting up this nuclear power plant, the minimum cost that we have now is 3.5 billion, right? What if something goes wrong? What happens then? What is the cost of cleaning up that thing? We remember Chernobyl, which I think will be in a state for thousands of years. I think, I'm not sure, but I think for thousands of years, right? And what happened with Chernobyl? What happened at Fukushima in Japan? How much did it cost? That's the most important part. It cost $500 million, $5 billion. So imagine you build a power plant at 3.5 billion, right? And then something wrong goes, something happens, right? And now you need 5 billion, almost double that cost, to clean it up. Just to fix that kind of trouble that's there. What is the cost of shutting down a power plant, right? It's 500 million. There's another one in the US. It was shut down for $863 million, right? So you build a plant for 3.5 billion, right? And you close it down for 8.3 billion. Makes sense. It makes sense. Remember, we are very good at doing these kind of things. So nothing could go wrong with that power plant. And the question that I asked the other day, couldn't people have planned for the SGR? Couldn't they have foreseen the trouble that will come with the SGR, such that Uganda might move towards through the Tanzania route? Couldn't they have foreseen? Like there could be trouble at the power plant. Is it something that we cannot foresee, right? And that's a point, by the way. Yes, that's a point. Geothermal, we haven't maximized. Wind power, we haven't maximized, but still moving on to these things. And then there's Dlamu. I'll talk about that. Our leaders are the joke. That's true. So anyway, just to continue, right? The US has 114 nuclear units, right? And they are licensed for 40 years, but they might go for 80 years, right? So within that time, like if you build a power plant, the first one is very expensive. The subsequent ones are not that expensive. Okay, so if you build the first one, it will last for around 80 years, and it will produce a lot of power, a lot of power, right? But there's something we call, can we absorb an economic shock? If something goes wrong with that plant, can we absorb it? Are we ready to absorb it as an economy? Japan could, because it's the third largest economy in the world, right? India is one of the largest economies in the world, right? China is a large economy. France, America, those are large economies. An economic shock of $500 million, it won't hurt them so bad. But what about us? 5 billion. What will it do to us? 5 billion US. Oh, so 5 billion Kenya shillings. What will it do to us? Anyway, just to continue. Locations identified. Like we have identified locations. One of them is around Lake Victoria, Lake Turkana, and along the coast. So those are locations where you're supposed to put up the power plant, right? So Kenya, we are very good at going to an area, purchasing that land, and setting up the project that you want to set up. Like the maize project at the coast, it's really working really well. Billions spent, only a few millions received in terms of maize production. We are really good at this kind of stuff. So let's look at this one. The politics of choosing a location. How do you choose between Lake Victoria, Lake Turkana, and the Kenyan coast? I'm not sure. Handshake manenos, we might go to Lake Victoria because that's a big project, right? But perhaps we need to go to Lake Turkana. Or, who knows, if we need the support of the coast, we might go to the coastal area. I'm not saying that Kenya will decide the location based on politics. I'm just saying that it could, right? All that I know is that a nuclear power plant needs to be close to a huge source of body of water, because cooling it down, it's not cheap, and you can't transport it. So anyway, we know that. How will you choose that? There's a politics. Like everything that we do, it has politics. Why? Because guys come, They chase out the small landholders, they buy those things, and then they wait for the government, and then they make millions. So even from the start, will the small landholders benefit? Will the Kenyans benefit? They were not consulted, and now will they benefit? That's my opinion. So there are guys who don't have title deeds, like squatters in Kisumu, pastoralists in Turkana. Perhaps the plant will be there. What will happen to them? What will happen to the economies? Like, what will they do? What kind of land area will they take up? If they take up too much land area, and Turkana, we know they are nomadic people, what will happen to their trade? What will happen to fishing in Kisumu if they take it there? There's the environmental impact we must remember. So will that impact the economic activities? What will the impact on security be? Because when you establish a power plant, it's not a small thing, and you really need to put up security around that plant. So there'll be a lot of emphasis on security in a power plant. What will that do? Do we have enough security personnel to handle that kind of thing? Because it's not a small thing. And then within the specific areas where we'll go, if you take it to Lake Turkana, how much will it divert resources from handling banditry and all that kind of things? I'm just saying. In terms of families, what will happen, like when you chase people from the land and they go somewhere, what will happen to them? When you give people with money, let's say everything goes well, and you give the small landholders money with no skills, what happens to them? Because the guys who've been chased away from projects, they have really done well, haven't they? They've become millionaires with the cash that they were given. So I'm just saying, training nuclear scientists abroad. We are training a lot of guys abroad. Like 15 students sponsored for masters in nuclear science, University of Nairobi. 11 students in, this is I think Korea, South Korea. Yeah, they're training in nuclear. They're in a graduate school in South Korea. And then 11 more scholarships will be offered. I think they have been offered by now in Slovakia, right? So of course the institutions there will receive their cash, and that will be good. Their teachers will receive their cash. Do we have enough doctors? Do we have enough teachers? And we're already training people for nuclear energy and all that kind of thing. Aren't we importing doctors from Cuba? Not sure. Perhaps we should have taken care of healthcare first. Okay. So the KNEB, the Kenyan Nuclear Electricity Board, right? It wants to start a nuclear engineering at the University of Nairobi. Very good. Start nuclear engineering for 400 people and 700 people who, not even those 400 people or 700 people you employ will do nuclear engineering there. So you'll have a professor, and you'll need to be paid over a long period of time. You'll have, like, when you develop nuclear engineering, right? How many people will graduate from there and then become employed? How long will they stay in that employment status before this? Because every year guys will be graduating from this nuclear engineering facility, right? And you guys only employ 400 to 700 people. Okay, I don't know. Okay, let's go again. Money today versus money tomorrow. We currently have a shortage of 87,000 teachers. TSC is only hiring 5,000 teachers. I don't know, shouldn't you have spent money on that instead of building an engineering school at Nairobi University? I'm just saying. Okay, so these guys, where the government expands its power, like they will expand, they'll repeal the Radiation Protection Board Act, and so the Kenyan Nuclear Electricity Board will become like the ultimate authority, right? Which is not bad. It's a good thing, expanding their powers. And that's the problem when you have institutions. They seek after expanding. They just want to expand. Because if they stop, it will seem like there's nothing they're doing. And then we might say, what's their use? And then kick them out of office and all that. Just saying. So they have to show that they're working. They have to keep on, like growth. They have to grow. Even when that growth is not necessary. So there'll be other institutions to come up. I don't know the name of the institutions. I don't know how many there will be. But again, government expanding for a project that will cost 3.5 billion, and whose shutdown cost might cost 8.7 billion, right? What happens if things go wrong? Can't we plan and see for that? So anyway, I want to give an example of the curriculum. Like guys are debating right now. The 844, it was criticized for being too expensive. These were the arguments. It was too expensive, it was too broad, and it was too burdensome to learners. Those were the arguments against 844. So they've introduced a new system. They want to introduce a new system, 2633, right? So that 2633, one of the problems people say that it will have is it will require heavy spending to equip teachers with necessary skills and tools. So 844 was too expensive. This one will require heavy spending. They've just changed the words, but it's the same thing. They'll both be expensive. So the new system has helped, right? It will help. How? Still be expensive. It was 844 was too burdensome for students, right? At junior secondary level, students will learn 12 core subjects. 12 core subjects. I'm not sure, but I think I can't remember what 844, the number of subjects that they learn at junior level. Let's say this an equivalent level, but it's around the same figure or just close to it. So in terms of burdensome, it won't change that much because Kenyans never learn. And somebody said, we want to introduce a new system, necessarily not because that we actually need it or because we can't do it in stages, but because people need to make money. And if they don't show that they have a curriculum and this one can work and this one is the best and let's push it, then we'll see as though they are not working. And there's a Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Like, why would you need an entire institute if you're going to implement a curriculum at once? It's only justifiable when you are implementing over stages so that the institute can take care of it over a long period of time. And most of the guys, they say that. Anyway, not to dwell on that. Nuclear energy, I believe that at this point it's a pipe dream, right? But as a country, it might be necessary in future. I do not believe that we're ready for it. There's an over-reliance on hydroelectric power, and then there's also the problem of climate change. This one, the stats that I have is 70 to 80% of total electric power. And this causes problems because when the rains become a problem, then we can't have enough power. And then you can't expand its capacity, especially when you're uncertain about it. Again, when you're certain about something, do not expand it. Look for an alternative. Like if you're uncertain if these things, if you don't have the capacity to absorb an economic shock like a shutdown, a meltdown at a nuclear power plant, I'm just saying. So Kenya is trying to expand and move into other areas. Geothermal is one of the areas. There's coal at Lamu, like my friend Lemashon mentioned, and then there's another one, coal, geothermal. Okay, there's fossil fuel, right? Which is burning like oil, fossil fuel. And then there's another one. Yes, and then we can purchase electricity from our neighbors. That we can do, but that's also very dangerous because it will keep us dependent on our neighbors. At the end of the day, nuclear energy has to come about. I don't think we have much of a choice but to bring it in Kenya. I do not believe that as a country we are ready when our port is in danger of being taken away. I don't believe we are ready for that. Currently, we have an installed capacity. This is 2010 statistics, so things might have changed. Hydroelectric power, this one, the statistics that I have for this one is 52.1%. Geothermal is 13.2%. Conventional thermal is 32.5%. That's like when they burn oil and all of those things. Wind and others is 2.2%. Right? And you can't rely on hydroelectric, so we need to expand geothermal. We want geothermal to come to 26% and then nuclear to 19%. Right? And then now the others would be like coal and the others. But mostly we want clean energy to be at the top. Lamu power station would cost 200 billion. 200 billion, right? And the economic shock of, let's say, something going wrong at the Lamu power plant, it won't be as felt as a nuclear meltdown. I'm thinking that what we need to do as a country is we need to focus on Lamu and we need to focus on geothermal. We need to perfect them, make sure that they are working well. And then now we build that institutional capacity and end this era of ghost projects. And only after that can we go for nuclear energy. Only after that, because the cost is too high. The cost of even decommissioning a plant is too high. And right now, I think that we might put those funds into other areas that might be helpful, like education, like healthcare, and all of those things. And then we might also need to somehow, we have economic might, so we can actually push our neighbors, or we can entice them to trade with us and sell us their energy. And there are so many things that we can do as we build up our capacity to handle something like nuclear energy. But as at now, I don't think we are ready for it. And I think that the only reason why you're going after it is because the government will always want to expand, and it always wants to sell a pipe dream, even though it cannot fulfill it. Like the SGR, we could actually have had it, but in another way. It's the same with nuclear energy. We can actually have it and we actually need it, but in another way. Not this time, not under this government, not under these institutions. And just spending on it, it's just a waste of cash. We need to think of something else. Let's focus on Lamu. If things go wrong with Lamu, I don't think there's much. Let's focus on geothermal. If things go wrong there, no problem, right? But the expenditure that will be on nuclear and the capacity that we have, we're not ready for it. So anyway, that is my point today. I hope that tomorrow I won't be available until after Christmas, until after Boxing Day. So I'm hoping that you guys will take care. Have a Merry Christmas, right? Love your family, be with your family, and remember that Christ is the reason for the season. So do go to Mass on Christmas. I'll be at Mass, and I will pray for you, and I hope that you'll pray for me. I'll see you guys on the 27th. Bye bye and take care.